Call the meeting to order, 6:30, November 5th. The roll call, John Kelly, Bill Bolton, Rebecca Hansen, Detail, and Steve Rhodes are present. And the first item is public comments unrelated to the agenda. Seeing none, we will move to administrative matters. And before we look at the minutes, Sharon, if someone has not been here for a meeting, can they vote on approving the minutes?
No, they can sit in and listen.
They can listen.
Right. And certainly participate in business.
No, but I mean, so Brian, who was not here for those meetings, cannot vote to approve.
He was not, because I wasn't either, so I'm not.
No, talking about approving the minutes from previous meetings, which he
I'm
did
sorry.
not attend.
Yes. He cannot, if he was not here, no.
Okay.
I can't comment on them. Could you pass that up, please?
And my other question has to do with if there's a quorum and we have an alternate member in addition to the quorum, can that alternate member vote or not?
Well, you won't have a quorum, no, ordinarily, but you won't have a quorum because we're still down, as far as I know. I mean, maybe not with Andy right now, I'd have to look at the sheet and count, but.
But you know what I mean?
Right, but it depends how, you are allowed 7 members, including a Board of Selectmen representative, and then I think up to 5 alternates.
Right.
So if you've got your full complement, a quorum and a complement are 2 different things.
Right, so 4 is a quorum, correct?
5. 5 out of 7 is a quorum.
5 out of 7.
4 is a simple majority.
Okay.
Gotta love it. And,
That answers my question.
Yeah, and 7 is a full complement, of which you are still down 1 member.
Okay, so if we had a quorum of 5 people here and an alternate, could the alternate vote? That's my question.
Yes, because you're
Okay.
aiming for a full board to get as many
Okay.
opinions as possible, yeah.
All right.
You can't vote on the minutes unless you were here, and you can't vote on the application unless you've previously participated in it. But you can always listen.
Okay, so the minutes from August 6th. Is there any discussion on those from the board? Seeing none, do we have a motion to?
Just gonna say that 3 of us were not there.
Right.
So
Yeah, we got four were. Oh, crap.
Well.
So here's another question.
No, you could do, that's a simple majority. Yeah, it's just minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Minutes you can do.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve those minutes as written.
Second?
Can't she get, John?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
I thought I heard somebody else say second.
I had 2 copies of those ones.
all right.
Okay.
All in favor of approving the minutes as written, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, that was August 6th, then moving to August 20th. A little bit more complicated. Any comments on the August 20th minutes? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the August minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Has been approved. Okay, we're moving on to item 5, unfinished and other business. It's a continuation to a date certain of the site plan review PID 212-021 and 212-022. This was to bring a property, Kirk's business, into compliance. And we had a site visit today. I believe everybody except Brian, you weren't here. And you and I, so everybody else was at the site. We took a nice look around. George explained some of the things they've been doing. He explained some recent meetings with DES. And I guess we'll just open it up to the board for discussion and comments. John?
Has any of the people on the board actually seen all of these certificates and all of this evidence that they are completely in compliance?
I have,
Yeah.
yeah, I saw the DES compliance
And
report.
secondly, I'm still troubled about this junkyard thing, but secondly, is when they figure out like the parking for something like that, because originally that property in the front of the building was all for customer parking. And as you probably know tonight, you had to walk across that busy street, which probably I didn't even think I'd see you tonight.
I
after
didn't
going
think I did
that
cross the street.
No, I know.
It took a while.
So, I'm just wondering if that has changed at all, or if that was ever designated strictly for customer parking.
Well, I think the original site plan had parking designated. It wasn't specified what kind of parking it was. And the parking that he's using now is in excess of what was originally granted. So he's asking that we grant him the right to use these extra spaces.
That's the parking out back?
Well, it's
To the
out back and
side.
around the building, I believe, both.
Okay, and the other question I had is that, is there any particular square footage that each business has to have out there on Tenny Mountain? I understand in the village district, your space does not, it can be one building right beside the other building. But is there any, like with residents in a rural area, you have to have at least an acre or whatever like that. Now, is that the same thing with these businesses? Is there a certain amount of square footage they have to have?
Well, this is a pre-existing, there's a couple of questions there. I'm not sure if I'm understanding the correct question you want an answer to, but you mean, does a certain type of business connote a certain size of a lot?
No, I'm
or in
talking
terms of
about
parking?
zoning. I'm talking about zoning because in town, you can have a half-acre lot. Is that true?
Well, it depends what zone it is, agricultural, but this is a pre-existing lot of record way beyond,
I understand that, but I'm just asking, for each business, do they have to have a certain amount of area?
not per business, it's, any of the sizes are based on lot sizes. The lots are zoned independent of the business that's on it. The business is a type of use that's allowed. And then there are parameters and thresholds for the business, which would essentially be parking. And that's sometimes based on, like restaurants is based on number of seats. General parking is usually gross finished area, square footage of the building. And that's what we went with this. And that's, I believe, in my planner report. I wrote it so long ago, I don't recall. But I know that this parking suits, if you will, justifies the,
For both businesses?
yeah.
The motorcycle business and the other, and the salvage business?
Have that.
Yeah, the building.
You've got like 4 businesses there, right?
Right, but it's not, but it wouldn't be by business, John. It would be by building. Because the businesses are interrelated. So you wouldn't pull out like, unless they were separate, you wouldn't pull them out and do your math that way on
So
parking.
you only got 2 buildings.
Right, if you see on the, you didn't bring it, the planner report, both buildings combined have a total of 11,500 square feet, which require, under this category, 46 spaces.
Okay, now, under those parking spaces, are they designated as to the size they're supposed to be?
Yeah, yeah.
Because,
the formula.
because when he hauls in those big wreckers and so forth, would that be an
Well, it would take
oversight?
the delineation of the sizes of the parking is standardized.
Right.
But obviously, I mean, if you've looked at your your site plan, that the updated version, the one that you got in your packages, it shows areas where those particular types of vehicles may be parked, and they're bigger, they're longer. So,
Okay.
I mean, you can only put, I mean, this is the thing, parking spaces are delineated by formula, but we're not, and I'm not being sarcastic here, I'm really not, we're not the parking lot police. This is a use that has particular types of parking depending on the vehicle, so he's got to put it where it fits as not to impede his business. I mean, this is where you get property, I mean, it's his business, so,
Right, but I know when they put the Chinese restaurant in there, whatever, the Oriental, Asian restaurant in there, they had very designated spots for cars, very designated spots for buses, very designated spots
right.
for this.
But that's a restaurant, and that's their
It shouldn't
own,
make any difference.
yeah, it should, use makes a
A
big
parking place
difference.
is a parking place.
No, use makes a big difference. You won't be seeing tour buses come in here, you'll see different
No,
types
but
of
you'll
other
see
things.
these big
Right.
wreckers with a wreck behind it.
But the parking places at the Asian restaurant were designed to accommodate the restaurant's needs by the restaurant. I mean, as long as it meets the basic parameters of the amount and the general size of parking that we require by zoning. Otherwise, you tailor it to your
So what
personal
you're
needs.
saying is there are certain parking spots for those big trucks, because I saw those trucks all over the place.
Well, there are certain parking spots by virtue of the fact that they're parked there, but, I mean, that's his prerogative. That's his prerogative. He's got more parking spots, we counted, than he needs, so therefore he's got wiggle room to park the bigger stuff that won't fit into a regular, whatever it is, 10 by 20, I think. It's approximately 200 square feet for a regular automobile. Yeah, it's basically 200 square feet. But we don't, our parking does not speak to specialized formula for larger vehicles or stuff other than your average, driver's
I guess
car.
what my biggest problem is that there's 20,000 people that go by, probably they were all there tonight at 5 o'clock, but there were 20,000 people that pass up Tenny Mountain every day. And if you've got a place like what we inspected today, that is the image they're going to get of Plymouth. And that also, he was advised we were going to be there today, so he undoubtedly, I know I would, dress that thing up about as best he could.
that's
But
the-
tomorrow, the next day, how are you going to know?
Well,
that
if
he's
you've
doing?
read the planner report, and this is getting to be our meeting here, so you guys
Yeah,
might
we're
want
gonna need
to
to move
chip
on here.
in.
So,
Yeah.
if I could just interject one thing, John, I think, if there's a problemable appearance of a property in town, whether it's a business or a residential property, that falls under the jurisdiction of the code enforcement officer. And if there's a complaint is made to him about a property, there's a certain procedure he has to follow, and he answers directly to the Board of Selectmen. So the plan really doesn't have any impact on the visual appearance of,
Right, right,
property.
right.
So I think, if we can kind of try to stick to the main issue, which is the,
Well, I think what my problem is that some of these buildings and some of these businesses, at least on Tenny Mountain Highway, were not really regulated when they were formed. And somewhere along the way, I would say that it would be the duty of the planning board to be able to make these businesses in conformity and at least be able to have Plymouth an attractive place so that people would want to come here.
Rebecca?
I don't disagree with you. I think that's maybe something for the master plan discussion coming up next. I feel like I don't think we can maybe
No, I would.
do much about the businesses that exist now, but I think we can be proactive about what we'd want to see in the future.
Yeah, see, what the other problem I have is that we meet here and none of us, or at least I don't have an awful lot of knowledge about any of the rules or regulations or laws or anything like that. So we come in, at least I come in blindsided a lot of times, and that's why I ask some of these questions, because I don't, you know, we have no training session as such, so that we know what we're doing. We're
Yeah.
7 people here, placed here in a particular time, and that's it.
Well, maybe in this particular case, since we have a member of the select board here, I mean, can you verify that the situation that John's concerned about, the visual appearance of the property and?
Well, so actually, I sympathize with John, but I think also training opportunities have been provided to us if we feel that we want to take advantage of it. We've got paid staff that actually act on our behalf, that does the research, that, provides the background for the members. And we have zoning laws zoning ordinance that actually would delineate compliance with either, appearance or any ordinances you'd like to come forward with.
Buildings come under site plan regulation. If your site plan regulations at the outset, two scenarios: new buildings, existing buildings that are expanded. And we've been over this before. Maybe now that the board is changing a little bit, maybe you haven't heard me preach this so often, but you cannot mandate design standards unless you have explicitly and expressly clarified design standards in your zoning regulations. You can't say, I like pink, I like purple. I actually read something the other day that said if it's a trademarked logo, with the feds, I mean, all the way up to those trademarks, such as, for example, Dunkin' Donuts, you can't tell them, you being a planning board or any board cannot tell that entity that they have to change the pink and orange or whatever it is to something else. You can't, it's trademarked. So unless you have enabling legislation, if you will, which is your site plan regulations in this case, that is very, very specific, like everything that's, retail has to have a colonial facade or something, you can't ask people to do that. I mean, you hope that they will build on the side of caution. They want to have something that looks nice and everything else. And in this case, the nature of this business, as you've heard before, it's an older building, and, well, you were there, you heard today, and it is what it is. Yes, it needs to be neat and not non-source points of pollution and this and that, but the transient nature of the business and the multiplicity of uses there, it's not pretty. George said that before. It's never going to be pretty. But
So I'm thinking, just to reinforce what Sharon was saying too, that if we were like Williams or Virginia, and McDonald's wanted to put a McDonald's in there, you'd have to comply with the fact that it has to be a brick building. It might even be like 9 over 9 lights, for windows, and there may be
design
sign
standards, which we
modifications
don't
that they might
have.
insist upon,
Yeah.
that they would comply with. Otherwise, there's no McDonald's in Williamsburg. But, we're not there.
One last remark, and then I'll shut up. The problem that I have with this is the last planning board, when McDonald's was coming in, when Lowe's tried to come in, when Walmart tried to come in, either they were completely wrong because they were telling what color they wanted the building to be, how what the sign on the outside was going to be, and everything. So there has to be something along the way that actually would be able to have somebody on the planning board say, hey, you're way off, you get out of here, because the way it is now, every time there's a different planning board, we have different rules. In my estimate, and that's a problem with me, because I've been on this so long that I've seen a couple of rollovers of these boards, and each time they have their own little ideas. So and I'm not blaming the planner. I think it has to come from all the way up, that somebody, we got to have some rules and regulations.
Just want to stress the fact that these are volunteer boards. And, these are evening meetings that require quite a bit of time to review the packets, to look at the plans. And, it's not like it is what it is, but people that have a desire to work with, zoning, with building approvals and how this town shall develop, tend to gravitate towards things like planning boards. So at least our board has a desire, get it right. And I think that speaks to all the boards too, unless they have something specific that's driving them to be on a planning board that they want to see happen, but usually it's to improve the town and to, just like the Marriott that went in. We couldn't insist upon it, but they decided to go with like a, colonial type of, or at least they went with clappers instead of like, some exterior that would not be, very desirable. So they kind of like made some design plan modifications to satisfy the look and feel of what
And
we
you would
would
hope
like.
an applicant would, but in this case, you can't retro the
Right.
design of that building.
Yeah. So unless we're prepared to go forward with, a master plan that would stipulate building, minimum standards for
Right.
zoning,
Right.
which we may do.
That's, you're both hit that right on the head. You have to have the mandate, and then,
I'm just saying there's inconsistencies every time.
oh, no,
that
I
the
know,
board
you're
vote,
absolutely right. Right, it's whim.
Which has hurt the town tremendously over the past 15 years.
Any other discussion?
I was just gonna sort of continue it for just a second and say that, and we all have our opinions and our preferences, and someone might find this business distasteful to look at. Someone might find another business that's gone in that maybe doesn't have design standards that are appealing to us. So I think it is a matter of opinion, and that's it.
Mr. Chairman, will I have a moment to speak?
I don't think we can
It's
do
up
that.
to the board, but you'd have to reopen the public
We
hearing.
haven't, but, you guys didn't ask us any questions today. We did make a set of animal.
You can speak up. Go ahead. Please state your name.
Dennis Prescott.
You're gonna open the public hearing, you have to do it procedurally. Could you please reopen
Okay,
the public hearing?
it's 8
Just-
minutes of 7, and open the public hearing.
Yeah, my name's Dennis Prescott. Obviously, you guys are gonna do whatever you're gonna do, but if you'd be kind enough to read them, their request from the abutter, who happens to be impacted by Mr. Kurt's business steadily. George has made it the best it's looked in 3 years. I have to admit, he has worked hard. Our concern is it will look like a junkyard again within weeks or months. So some of these items were brought up at the beginning, Sharon wasn't here, about vegetation, access, stored cars, and the like. So basically, it's the same thing. George has actually got it almost to where we asked 2 years ago for him to get to. And that's basically the westerly side of his property, so it didn't look like a pile of junk. Today, it didn't look too bad, except still, you couldn't get a fire department behind the vehicles. The right side of the vehicles where you guys started your tour had 3 vehicles wide, 2 trailers, and no access for a fire. If fire in that building, it's gonna burn down our building, period. It's going to get there. I would like to be able to have access around the building, like anybody else that comes to the site plan review. I've been to many of them. Excuse me. So, one thing there, as far as his unregistered vehicles, his commercial vehicles, just stay 35 feet off our property line. That's all we're asking. You guys can grant the site plan with restrictions. The other restriction we asked for is that there's no outside storage of the list in front of you. Tires, gasoline tanks, motors, rear ends, which were all there 6 months ago. I showed you all pictures. So if you would, George needs a parking. He does have multiple businesses. He's done a great job, but if you guys don't give us something to enforce, then it won't be enforceable. It'll take me another 2 years to come back here. So I simply ask that you look over our requests. We'll maintain the bank. We'll pay. We'll mow it. That is her access to her building. It is a mutual driveway access, ingress and egress. Sharon did have to fight Tenny Mountain Highway traffic at 5 o'clock because you guys, 2 of you, parked in our spot on our side because you couldn't park in George's. So some of the things that John brought up are very pertinent. Line of sight, the other two things that you might want to consider as a planning board, which has nothing to do with much, except this, going out on the Tenny Mountain Highway, he has got 3 spots that are right inside of the turning radius for the state of New Hampshire. You might want to consider deleting these 2 on the easterly side towards the Kirk cycle. That's right in the travel lane. Also, I don't know how anybody would approve a tractor trailer spot in the center of 2 other spots. How do these people even turn out and make an egress? Same with over here. He's showing you large spots for large vehicles. I think that's wonderful. That's where they ought to be. But how do you get around these three spots at the end of the building? I don't know how. But again, you guys went to today. He's had a couple of weeks to get it clean and tidy. It looks great. I'd just prefer it stay that way. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public about this case? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing at 4 minutes to 7. And bring it back to the board for discussion of the abutters' requests. Sharon, I have a question for you. Are you privy to any of the discussions between the fire chief and the Kirks about the fire access to the building?
No, I haven't been.
Okay.
No, I mean, you need to speak to the chief.
Comments from the board?
I just have a general comment. A number of these things just seem to be like under the purview of the code enforcement person to see if, and I don't know if we can like overstep the requirements that are built for like 15 feet setbacks and.
It's actually part of your parking plan. If you read them all, it's basically your parking. And the way he has his parking plan will impact our business because he's got trailers right up the side of the driveway that will impact the line of sight to her business. So all we're asking is commercial stuff stay on the other side, put registered vehicles, customer vehicles, his employee vehicles on that side of the building. So it's not changing I'm not asking for change of use, I'm just asking to put registered stuff on our side so it looks like a real business instead of dumpsters and sweepers and broken down old junk.
I think he did indicate that there was a trailer a box that was like moved from the corner of the property to next to the building or something.
We moved the dumpster right underneath the window is what he did.
I feel that it probably is the code enforcement's duty more than it is the planning board, but there should be more inspection of the place, maybe just driving by or whatever, to be able to have it as nice looking as what it was today. That's all. I think that's what my desire would be, that there'd be a little bit more observation of it, so that, number one, people going by think it's, at least acceptable, and also for the fire protection, as far as that's concerned.
Just my point of the list is if you make it part of the approval process, then Mr. Murphy has something to go to. He now has a list of items that if Mr. Kirk doesn't comply, he has a list to go back to.
Well,
That's the only thing I'm getting to.
I have to understand that, but this is not in our purview at all.
No, this is something,
This
just
is-
as cautionary
We
At
cannot,
the very least, you'd want to run this by the town's attorney, and I think he would say this is not your prerogative.
yeah, I don't think this is something we.
I mean, I understand what Dennis is saying, but I mean, in terms of property rights, but it's specific arrangements of things. I don't think that can be mandated. I don't know, but
Then I would ask that the additional trailer parking spots on the westerly side of the building be deleted. And that is in your purview, to delete those 2 spaces. And access for fire is also in your purview.
well, that would be something that would have to be questioned, or the question posed to the chief. We'll have to do some talking to.
Rebecca?
I mean, as far as the fire situation and making sure all the spaces are within the mandated setback, I mean, that's the part of the boilerplate conditions we put on pretty much any approval, that it meets the standards, any permits that are required. I mean, if it doesn't meet fire code, then something needs to happen.
Right,
That's far
I
beyond
don't
what we
have any
do.
background
Right.
on that, because I just, this has been established for so long, and
Well,
I'm not
there
saying
was
it's
some
right, but-
hearsay, there was some hearsay today from George that he did have a discussion with the fire chief specifically about access to that side of the building where his employees' cars and his plow truck are parked now, and where there's one trailer there.
And employees work a lot of hours because they've been.
Right, so anyway, according to George, and as I say, this is hearsay, the fire chief said they would not a truck that close to the building in any event because of what's stored inside. They would be fighting that fire from the driveway beyond the vehicle. So that's why I asked Sharon if she was privy to that conversation. Anyway, that's what George said today. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Guys obviously believe everything George says.
Can I make,
Just a point of order, I mean, I want to make sure the public hearing is not open, I
closed.
feel,
I'll be
okay.
quiet.
All right,
this is getting,
I just
out
want
of
to make
order.
sure that we're following our,
Good point. All right. Any other discussion about the matter?
make just one clarification, and that is, the planner said that if you have designated, you can't have designated parking. But at least when the Asian restaurant went in there was great discussions as to where the buses could park and where the buses couldn't park, and whether regular passengers could park. And what my understanding tonight is that if a bus wants to pull into that parking area that's just for single cars, they can do it. Nobody. So what was the discussion for night after night after night, trying to designate where the buses were going to go?
Well, I wasn't on the board during that discussion, but it may have had to do with pedestrian safety or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
Any other discussion?
I feel like the 35 spaces, not being there today, granted, and I apologize for not being there to everyone, but from what I know and what I've seen of the property, as clean as it is today, without the 35 additional spaces, wouldn't the 35 additional spaces make it even more neat? Is that...
that was the premise of
Well, you don't have to laugh at me.
that was the
Nice.
premise of the problem before, was that how shall I say this? Well, the plan had become obsolete, so to speak. And what we asked Mr. Kirk to do is to delineate additional, as part of the terms of compliance, delineate additional parking spaces if he could for all this, movable rolling stock, because it's always in flux there, and to ascertain that he did in fact have enough spaces to be compliant with what the zoning required for the square footage in those two buildings. So, yeah, I would think there's some flexibility, but, This is where you are right now, where we are right now in approving or not approving an expansion of use on the site plan. It's somewhat retroactive as a remedy, obviously, and it's also the BMP for compliance under the auspices of the code officer. We got a couple of things going here. This is the administrative relief for the violation that, you know, had occurred with too many vehicles and mishmash and this and that. You know, this is kind of an odd duck here, this procedure that we're using, because it's an existing business and it's not hugely changing. The expansion is because it's been on the ground there for however many years, almost 10 years, I guess. And it's morphed beyond what the original confines of the site were. So this is an administrative, and it makes it hard because you're trying to apply all kinds of site plan regulation standards to it. But you're essentially looking to see, does the change that's been made on this satisfy two things: satisfy the technical requirement, which is the parking, and satisfy the administrative requirement, which is to clean up the site and have a baseline of clean, which can be enforced, because it would be obvious that when it starts straying, cleaned up, that it needs to be brought back to center again.
Did I, when I got up there, I didn't gain a lot out of it, because there was supposed to be additional parking? Is that what this is all about?
No, from what was originally on the map, on the site plan, yeah, he's updating what was originally on the site plan, but the site plan is so old, there was no follow-up that should have been brought to bear in the last decade on this, or however long it's been in business. I can't see this far.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, I never got to that point. Here's the lot, and we walked around the lot, and we talked about cleaning it up and everything like that, but he didn't say, this is the additional parking I want.
It was in your package from your last meeting, and that's the big map that shows where the additions are.
But that's why we went to the site plan, is to see where that was on the plan. You can write up anything you want on a plan, but when I went up there, I expected him to say, okay.
Well, you should have asked him then, I guess, John, because, I mean.
Well, that's what we went out there for, and
Well-
and it's not really my point to ask him, because we have people that should have asked, where's this parking spot? I never found out where those additional parking spaces were. Maybe everybody else did, but I didn't.
Did you have a
I was just
comment?
gonna say that essentially, I mean, it's just the darkened areas. We're basically drawing lines under cars that are already there.
Correct.
Right.
So, I mean, we're really just designating parking spaces that are used as parking spaces.
As I said, this is a baseline from here on out. You've redone your baseline because it just expanded and expanded since the original plan for the original approval way back.
And I don't think we're drawing lines.
Sorry, I'm sorry, there are no lines. We're drawing
Yeah,
invisible
just-
lines.
Yeah, we're just accommodating the, the businesses out
Oh,
there.
right, that's not striped pavement, no.
Right.
No.
Okay. Any additional discussion? Bill?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's like an auction, you move your finger around, you get called on. Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion? Rebecca?
I'll move to approve this application pending. Do we need to do a boilerplate? Any?
Well, no, I mean, the compliance is prima facie because it will be watched.
Right.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor of approving the application signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Carries with one nay.
And I'm sorry, who voted? Brian, did you vote? Okay. And Andy, you didn't.
He voted.
I voted.
You can't vote
Can't vote.
Yeah, why can't he vote?
because he wasn't here for the opening of the,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, but, yeah, because you're halfway through the process,
Yeah.
so.
Sorry, I need to say that.
That's why I was confused.
Okay, moving on to B, which is the master plan.
Oh,
See,
good.
Tara is here.
She didn't hear.
Members I haven't been
Oh, yeah, yeah. we
Brian, do tell.
But
talking
you'll-
from the planning director.
It's only been a year.
That's our.
Andy McDonald.
Okay,
Nice to meet you.
So at the last meeting, we went over a draft of the survey, the master plan survey, and it was decided that there were a few questions that needed to be revisited by a smaller subcommittee, and that was Bill and Mike. And we met and made some changes, and that's the draft that hopefully you have in your packet.
No, I didn't, I understood you were bringing paper, but I can go make paper really quick if you just point out which ones, this is what I've got. Did you send something later today? Or
I sent it to you Friday, I think, when you asked me if there was something for their packet. So
I'll go double check. I don't recall, but I'll go double check.
here's here's what
Show
you
me
want
what
to
it
copy.
is, because I can just,
Copy these.
is it
Online.
these two online working draft, and then this is this? Yep. Okay, so.
I have a couple.
Nah, it's okay, I'll just take a second.
These should be the same. If you want to share a little bit, we could get started.
Sure. Oh, this is two.
Two, because there's,
Yeah, online or mail or something.
right, one of the things we did when we met was to go through the draft that we talked about at the meeting and make a suggestion for which questions should stay in for the online survey. Just for background for Brian and Andy, the survey for the most part is gonna be mailed to every voter and property owner, but there's an interest in having input from students and others, maybe there are business owners, rent or so forth that we wouldn't catch. So there's gonna be an online version too. And the results will be kept separate so that we'll be able to, track the percentages for the property owners and voters. And some of the questions made, they were more relevant for a voter or property owner than the general public. So we took them out of this online survey. Where the questions are the same, we wanted them to be exactly the same, because then we can make some comparisons too. So I expected that you'd have it Friday and have looked at it for today's meeting, so.
Yep.
And I'd asked that I go out to you, so you'd even have the weekend to look at it. You had nothing else to do on the weekend.
Yeah, we
but-
would have definitely done it over the weekend.
So I guess we're gonna have to go through kind of question by question, and that's, I don't know, the solution, but, the first question should be pretty much the same as when we last met. I don't think there are any changes in that.
These two? These are the same.
Similar. I mean, the question's the same.
There are, all the questions in the online survey are in the other, but the other has
Okay.
more, so
Which
you kind of
one's
need to
the
look at them
online?
side by
This one?
side to see which questions we're saying maybe don't belong in the online one. The first four questions are, the first three are pretty much what you saw at the last meeting. I think question 4 is 2, actually.
One of the questions that got eliminated was that if you were not yet a resident of Plymouth, you hope to become one in the future. That-
Right, we
that got
took
rid of
some out to try to,
it. Yep.
we made changes to, I'm just gonna go through the survey that's not the online one, and you have the online one so that you can see which questions we aren't including in it, but we'll just go through the one that has all of them. So, number 5 is different, because I was looking for some help, talking about the sections of town in terms of where development should go. I had only had a couple of places, so I think that's one that would be good for everybody to look at and give a nod, or did we leave out how you'd refer to a certain section of
I'm
town?
giving you a nod.
I saw your nod.
Oh, you did? You have good peripheral vision.
No, I looked over there.
Real quick, we might not have the room for this. There's no way we can put like a map on here so people can see what we mean by different areas, just to make it a little more.
Well, that was a question I had in the first draft was,
And I wasn't here for that meeting, so.
do you want to have a list or a map?
Okay.
And I think,
Yeah, I'm not certain who, I think a map would be helpful, but I don't know where you could stick it in.
I mean, if we're limited by space, if we don't, that's fine. I know in more academic surveys, sometimes you just try and provide people with as much information as possible so they know exactly what we're.
well, I
what we're
guess
getting.
and this is already longer than we
We'd like to-
budgeted for and hoped.
Right.
But to answer that, I guess we need to think about,
Copies of the same
is it more important
survey.
So we just need one of each.
other,
We're kind of confused over here, so.
yeah, so
All right, so we have
there's
one
a set of
online.
2 surveys, and one has all the questions and another is online, a subset.
Well, they're all mixed in, that's why. Drafted for discussion. Online.
It's exactly like the example I'm saying. You come in here blank.
Just a moment while our
No,
homebrew
you're
teacher
fine.
gets us straightened out.
I have one of each. For discussion. There we go.
We reviewed this though.
Hmm?
We've seen this one.
That was the original?
Yeah.
So to answer that, you need to think about, is it more important when you look at responses and divide them up by where people live, is it gonna be more important where people feel like they live or exactly where they are on a map? If it is important where they are on a map,
Yeah.
Everybody gets one of
Then-
those.
then we could put one as the final page or on, I mean, we do what we have to do.
Now, is this,
We must have-
we can throw one of these away.
What do people think about
I
that?
got that.
We,
Also,
we can, should we,
you've got that one.
well,
Could we make a small map that's just like an outline map and not have it?
I think I'm all set, Sean.
Sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Two
These
separate.
guys, they're very similar in.
Can we throw away all the paper we don't need?
This is, one says online,
That's
that's easy to
online.
differentiate, the other says working draft.
We got one of the working
the,
drafts here.
the question I thought a map might be a better option for was number 15, actually, of where people live.
No crap, you got two outlines.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might need a map.
I guess my suggestion with those location questions would be just make sure we're using consistent language so we're not constantly having people have to recalibrate, you know, where's this, where's that. So repeating the language a little bit.
Rebecca, are you talking about like a map page, just so you can refer back to it?
I get, I mean, I don't
Or
have
like
anything.
on the side of the,
I mean, I think it would have to be something larger, and that's why I'm thinking
Yeah.
there's probably not the room for it. But it's, I mean, I think it would be.
You think an outline map would be without all the colors and everything?
We could
Just
do,
in-
I don't think we can afford to do color, but we could,
I'm not asking that.
we do like a half a page schematic with the different parts of
Yeah,
town and
yeah.
use it for these and maybe group these together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be good. Yeah. And, but you have other questions, you have like, what part of town do you live in? Downtown, on campus, West
Right,
Plymouth,
so
or rural?
5, 6, and
So where do
15,
we
we might
live,
want to
Bill?
put
What's the
together.
Where do we live?
If I see the map, I'll know.
Yeah.
Well,
Alright, well,
seriously, I'm not sure. Are we West Plymouth or are we rural or what?
Rural,
You're
yeah.
gonna need that, help me with maps, so we'll figure it out.
It took me 20 seconds to figure out where I
Everybody
live.
thinks about their town parsed up differently,
Mm-hmm.
so we'll rearrange it so that 5, 6, and 15 are together with a kind of schematic.
Actually, John lives with us too, so just remember we're rural.
A lot of the easy stuff, so
We drive you home, so you know where you are.
the hard thing that that we got stuck on when we met was this question 7, and that's why you have 2 options for it. I think neither of these are exactly what I had in the first draft, but kind of came out of the discussion.
Oops, good.
They're not exactly the same. When this option A is pretty much what we had at the last time we talked. It doesn't have aquifers on it for some reason. I don't know if that was an oversight. Do you have an aquifer ordinance?
Here's the other one. Oh,
Do we have an aquifer ordinance? I don't know.
I was wondering why I didn't have.
Well, it seems to me that option
Been
B
helpful about
is
my topic.
more neutral.
Where are we at now?
Oh, this
This is the
is
master one, or?
You didn't give me originals, I had my own.
Here's the,
No, I did give them.
That's the third.
It's the other one's not here.
Really?
should be the second one. Yeah, there's an online one.
Online one.
What was
On the online one, yeah.
So we're
These are
on,
on
we're
my
on
desk.
7 still,
Hey,
right?
You're all set. I'm all
Yeah,
set.
never mind.
What question are we on now?
7.
7. Do you have an aquifer ordinance? No.
say
So
the same
I
thing
think
as
that's
that.
just an oversight that there isn't a question about aquifers in option A. It
seems to me that option B is more neutral in tone than option A.
The downside with that one is there are a couple of questions, and that's what was in my notes, that maybe some of you have a copy of my notes now. But
John has a copy of your notes, I think. Yeah? Is this your notes? Excuse me, John, I'll get you another one. Got it?
Here, take 2.
Yeah.
So,
How come I can't have that?
I think we should start over. All right.
the one that doesn't work, and some of you have this because you have my notes, is requiring developers to treat and manage stormwater on site. Just couldn't really think of a way to fit that into the option B approach. And there was not consensus, I mean, it was a two-person committee, but in terms of the question about,
Scenic ridgelines.
scenic, that's why you see in the notes that Bill wanted it in, Mike wanted it out, and
The notes didn't make it to this copy, though.
that's kind of where we left that. So if we want to go with option B, I would add wetlands, that's missing from that, and figure out, maybe there's a separate question about stormwater, or maybe we just don't,
Separate question about what?
stormwater.
Stormwater?
Or maybe I just need to think on a more creative day about how to put it in.
I like B, with adding wetlands, separate question about stormwater. I like that option.
What do you think about the scenic ridgelines and hilltops?
I think it should be in the
I think it
survey.
in there. The town of Sandwich has a, call it a skyline overlay district, where they actually restrict development on ridgeline. I mean, it's Sandwich, but,
Yeah.
but,
You
What's
know,
your point?
But, you
Yeah.
know, the ridgelines are marketable. I mean, that's what, I mean, people hike a lot, so they want to see buildings on top of there.
Well, if you have the innovative zoning guidebook, the big spiral.
Yep.
The model in that, focuses not on not allowing it, but on design for it, like not letting people clear all the trees in front of the house and have big expanses of reflective material, that kind of thing. So there's, so that's maybe, the third column here for that would be allow development, but put conditions on it to protect the environment. If you're looking at the option B.
Now, is this just residential,
I don't know,
size ridgeline?
not,
Because when those windmills went up there, ridgeline.
yeah,
It's not on our town, though, but and there should be like a scenic consideration of neighboring towns as well, but there wasn't, so.
the state process overrules the local zoning with an energy project of that size.
a lot of towns have developed, like small wind farm zoning ordinances as well, since, especially that went up in the Groton wind thing over in Newfound.
Yeah, and there's an OEP.
For sure it's yellow.
There's something yellow in it. Something that I still needed to look at.
Yeah, the thing I like about B is it gives, I think it's more active for the survey participant, and they can determine different degrees of, instead of just agreeing or disagreeing with something on its sliding scale, they can actually, there's different degrees of involvement, and I feel like we just get a better gauge of opinion. Although there isn't an option for asking for less restriction for any of these.
Right.
I mean, which I'm okay with, but that's, but
Yeah.
or should there be, minimum is acceptable.
Don't ask things you don't want the
It's true,
answer.
these are just true, yeah. All about gathering information. Or do nothing current approach is
Yeah,
fine, it's
well,
kind of the same thing as saying, minimum requirements
Right.
are acceptable or something.
Because you don't have any of these. You don't have any of these, really. So, and a little bit on the major riverbanks.
Steep slopes.
Steep slope.
Well, actually, we do, there is something about steep slopes in our ordinances, but not as clearly as like other towns. I know
No, it's
Perlac was-
it's-
I'm
it's-
looking at that.
It's a vague mention and it's formulaic, but it's not,
Okay.
Yeah, it was some standard language, I think that, I don't know if it was like DES, whatever, that was advocating some towns that had gone forward with it. But that's up to our town, I guess, to,
Should we put that in that manage environmental issues on site instead of stormwater?
What?
On this one, on B, on A, it says required developers to treat and manage and get stormwater on the site. It could be environmental issues on site, and it's sort of, it wouldn't be quite as specific, and that would cover your stormwater, your wetlands, and all these other things that people are worried about nowadays.
Yeah, I'll have to think about how we work that one into the option B. So, the next one is unchanged, but then number 9 is, new. The board had talked about, tourism, so I'd had a question in about that. The decision was, well, let's make it more general, what kinds of economic development. These really aren't all the kinds, though. I mean, this is what came out of that meeting, but would it, information technology, which is, you know, what a lot of what's happening in the incubator, would that fall under commercial? Or
Yeah, I think it would.
like services?
Somebody clarify industrial to me. Does that include your small electronic firms and stuff like that?
Yeah, see, these categories are so broad that I'm not sure we know now what they.
Yeah, I just, industrial, all I can think of is big smoke and brick buildings.
Right. Should we think about more categories?
Technical?
If there, I mean, yes, if we think that, I mean, I just can't think of anything we'd add on there.
I'm just not sure it's helpful with this broad category.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the direction you need to make land use recommendations
Right.
in the master plan. As opposed to, you know, if you pulled out, say you divided commercial into retail and services and think about some other technology.
Yeah.
And we can just look at a zoning ordinance to get that covered. But it doesn't, I don't think enough yet.
With that, wherever we can develop would be in agricultural anyway, so we might have to change the zoning.
Right, we'll have to see how the answers all hang together.
Yeah.
I think number 10 and 11 are pretty much what you saw in the last draft.
Comment on number 10, just, and tell me to stop if I'm wordsmithing. The A, B, C, D are the same in 10, 11, and pretty much similar to 12, except for the option D on number 10. I don't know if we could just say not ever to make it consistent with the rest of them. I don't know. And again, I apologize if I'm getting in the weeds with wordsmithing, but
That's pretty important, because when I came down here to go to the meeting tonight, there was a guy double packed, 6 students going across the street, and cars coming the other way when I tried to turn up in here. You talk about interesting.
So I'm crossing out D on 10 and putting not ever.
yeah.
Did I just get lazy, or I don't know. I don't know why that one's so much more detailed. Yeah.
I just don't think we want to be tricking our survey takers like they're trying to trick you on standardized tests by swapping the order and
Oh,
and
right.
stuff like that.
Right. With 12, that I thought it needed that E.
Mhm.
Mm.
Eighteen is pretty much same. I think I made an addition after, or maybe we made it when we met as a committee. The qualifier to get where you need to go in Plymouth wasn't on the first draft.
Yeah, it was.
Not,
You need to go in Plymouth.
yeah, maybe it was
We still,
not on
where
the
are we
one
now?
before.
Well, looking at the current draft and the previous draft
Yeah,
is,
okay.
What number?
previous draft was 16.
Right. Fourteen should be close to the same. 15 we're gonna move and put with a map. I don't think we did much with 16, 17, 18, 19. One of the things the committee was asked to do, they decided well not to. Which, there was a discussion here about, making, 20, 22 and 23, having some multiple choices in there. Some things that the community is working on, and then having another, and the decision was made to go back to having them be
Could
just
I ask-
open-ended.
Can I ask you a question? On this 17,
Yep.
we've got all of these things, but it doesn't just say single-family homes. It says starter homes, but it doesn't say anything about single-family homes.
Yeah, 16 neither.
Hmm?
16 is the same, yeah. I noticed that too, John.
Yeah, but one is, would you or your family live in a different type? And 16 is, please describe your current residence.
Mm-hmm.
One is current and the other is future.
Yeah, but,
Okay,
I mean, it seems like that would be a,
So if you just said single family instead of
Common.
small starter home,
or add it to the list, because it's,
well,
you can circle more than one, so.
a single family home would take care of
oh, in here, oh.
a lot of that.
It would, but I don't think it tells you as much. So if we add it as an additional choice and let people circle more than one
But
thing.
handicap home wouldn't, that's pretty broad too, because it's that,
That might be a single family home too. That's why we're letting people circle as many as they want on these.
but they don't have single family home, that's all I can.
Yep, good, that was a good catch.
Do you have anything in here about the capping of the amount of student off-campus student housing in the town of Plymouth?
Well, no, we're not really talking about specific tools, but we're asking in number 18 whether people are concerned about that.
Okay. I guess I would, yeah.
And then the next step is for the planning board is to
Yeah,
talk
I
about
guess-
tools.
Yeah, I guess.
So 2021-22 stayed open-ended questions. I don't know if there's any more discussion on that or if people are okay with that now.
I like it, I think I like it better as open-ended.
I agree.
Wasn't there something like that back here about bicycle paths and so forth?
Question 14.
14?
13, 14.
On number 23, the highlighted one is something that Mike had emailed me.
Oh, theirs isn't highlighted, I'm sorry.
G, it's in brackets and it says Tara will look into volunteer contribution on
Okay.
text bill, semester bill. Just, is that something that you want to look into? I mean, it's not, it would take some explanation, I think, if we put it in here. I haven't been able to get an answer out of DRA yet on it. I'm still trying.
Has it been done by other communities?
It's not answering it.
Oh, I mean, in your knowledge, or?
No, I've never heard of it.
Okay.
That's why I think
Um,
it would take some
14,
explanation if we
3,
find that it's, I think they just don't wanna take a.
yeah, this is the online one, I guess. What the? How come his 23 doesn't look like my 23?
I know. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, here are you.
Because it's not in the
Right
online
here,
one.
and you're way
Yeah.
up there, so there
I
has to be a
didn't, I
different,
didn't copy
you
color.
know,
Oh, it's,
configuration or something
You
in
you
here.
printed it from a doc or whatever, and it paginated it differently. It's got a
You
different
mean
page.
when they copied it, it changed?
Oh, you didn't copy it, did you? Did you do it from a doc?
No, I did it manually on the copier from an
So that
existing
changed
one.
it, see?
Well,
I
there's
didn't
two
send
versions
it.
floating around.
Yeah, we only got 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's close
Yeah.
enough.
We take them all together and divide them by 4, we'll be okay.
So I'm talking about question 23 that's asking about methods for funding conservation of the town's priority natural, recreational, and historic resources, and I had brackets of something that I'm still trying to find out about, but I don't want to put more time into that if you don't feel strongly about.
I don't think it's necessary myself to
What,
follow.
I guess if we,
23.
yeah,
We'd have to get grants for that anyway, so.
the dedicated fund, we're talking about the land use change transfer tax, right? Is that what it's called, land use change tax?
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Again, I struggle with the wordsmithing, but just to make sure that the language is consistent with exactly what would be asked.
We're at the wordsmithing point, don't worry
Okay,
about
okay,
that.
good. I'm an editor.
Last meeting I said no wordsmithing,
Okay,
but now we're
okay.
there.
Okay, so I would just say, make sure that something like the land use change tax is the exact language that would be used when that's asked for.
Yeah.
And when is the drop date for this? When's it supposed to hit mailboxes?
Well, we'll decide that.
Okay.
No specific date. We got 10 years to work on it.
12, I don't retire.
I know, but it's every 10 years supposedly. From 5 to 10 years, I believe.
So we'll
they
send this
say.
out in what, 2018?
We're
We're not ready
Why
for
rush?
wordsmithing.
Keep it up, I won't be around that long.
So, 24 is pretty totally new and different and was a lot of work of the committee, so that's one, I wanna make sure that you read carefully and think about.
I think we're gonna be forced into that pretty soon. We just renovated that fire station over $400,000.
The fire station?
Yeah,
Or the, you purchase of the house next door and then to make
the
renovations?
fire station. That's the fire station. The town bought that house
Right.
turned it into the fire station. It used to be a house next to the fire station, but not anymore. They spent $400,000 on that. They'll build a new one. That's funny.
Well, I like the things that are on 24.
Me too.
Is that recycling center located in such a way that this solar
Yes,
would, it is?
very much so. The hillside just above would be cleared.
Well, the one right above it is the one where the recycling center, not recycling, the town highway department, they bought 20 acres up there. Right behind the recycling center.
But I mean, well, Bill knows the
Isn't that
particulars.
right?
Yeah, that's what they're focused on, the solar array up on the property behind the
Yeah.
recycling center, yeah. Did we, as a subcommittee, did we discuss getting rid of the Green Street, East Main Street thing, or?
What's that?
Creation of like a East Main Street or something.
That's in number 25.
Oh, okay, sorry, I wasn't looking far enough.
If everybody's good with 24, 25 is also pretty different. Something to take a close look at.
Is there anything that we can put in here is if grants are awarded so that somebody doesn't come in here in the town of Plymouth and got to pay for all of it? There should be some kind of a qualification saying that a lot of this, parking garages and all that stuff shouldn't be all on the back of the Plymouth residents, because if that happens, the tax rate's really going, so there should be some kind of in here that says that if grants are awarded for these projects, that they should be considered.
I guess the way I read it is
Hmm?
without thinking about constraints sometimes, and assuming that we would have the money for those things, which would be the priority.
We almost had a $9 million municipal building that was on the backs of Plymouth. You know what happened to the tax rate? It'd be max exodus of that property tax.
I think it's a given that if something is priority number 2, but a grant opportunity comes along, it gets moved up to number 1. I don't,
I like
Yeah.
things down
I think
right.
that's just,
I like getting things down right and not assumptions.
well, the place to put that is the master plan, not the survey. Anything that should be added
Now,
to,
this Highland, the completion of Highland Street reconstruction, I thought we already had the money for that.
Well, portions of it.
I thought that.
Yeah, the middle portion.
Hmm?
Yeah.
But it's in phases, so it's a long street.
Hmm?
It's we have monies for portions of it, but it's phased, and
Yeah, well,
as
we
you
had
know,
3
it's a
phases.
really long
Yeah.
haul there.
But all we've ever considered is down the 3 phases, that's what I'm telling you.
Well, it'd be more interesting to get a response on that too.
What's that?
It'd be kind of nice to have a response on that, even though if it's like something that people really want to see completed. Let's move it up.
Creation of East Main Street from Courthouse to Route 3. You mean Green Street?
Oh, no.
Secondary access.
You got another street down there between?
Oh, sure.
so,
I'm telling you, that's squeezing it.
for this question, are there some things missing? Do you do you want people to pick just one, or do you wanna let them pick two? There's a lot of options for
I
something
like
like
this
this.
a lot better. This is more general. It's not specific to Down Street or some specific area. It's just, it's more of the whole town, as far as that's concerned. You know, you have enough questions here to cover the whole town and not.
Yeah, I think pick one is fine, because that allows you to sift out the,
Okay,
who's concerned about what.
then we can look at where they live on the map and
Yeah, yeah.
see where they're.
Are these gonna be on the map? I'm
No,
just kidding,
but-
I'm just kidding.
Oh, you
Well,
know,
we correlate it with where they
the
live.
only bad thing about the map
Can we GPS it?
that we have now
Lights that pop up when I
GIS.
push a button?
is that they have agricultural
The planning board needs
all the way
access
up over
to
Tenny Mountain
locations.
Highway and everything. I mean, Tenny
You can
Mountain.
watch them stuck in traffic.
And it would be hard to even build or have businesses on Tenny Mountain, so to speak. So, you know, I think that, I don't know whether it goes in here or not, but there has to be more of a refinement as to what agricultural means because that's 80% of the town is designated as agricultural.
Yeah, it's, I'll be talking a lot more about that when we work on the land use.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
How about the last three? You good on those?
Yeah, I can't wait for number 27. Just more things to target.
Wasn't that the
Skyline
suggestion
overlay.
Mike had that I thought was good?
So Winooski, Vermont, or something like that, put themselves under a roof. I want downtown Plymouth roofed.
Yeah.
And solar
Don't-
arrays.
Don't ever put that in their minds. Somebody will be coming up with that.
I can fill out one of these questionnaires too, John, so.
So then the related question is, did we pick the right ones? And obviously I'll make mirroring changes. So we don't need to talk about the questions all over again, but did we pick the right ones for the online survey? We were good with, which questions are included in the online survey. Or are there others that you don't want to hear from the general public on?
And can you run through technically how it's gonna be like, so this is gonna go to specific people either by voter registration, they voted in Plymouth, and/or property owners?
No, this one is the full
The
one,
large one that we just did.
Yeah,
the online.
So those are all identified by either voter checklist and/or property owners.
well, it seems like we've gone a little bit, well, the proposal was to send it to every household
Yeah.
that has a voter, right, and let people copy it, and then there was some pushback on that.
Yeah. And my argument that, geez, I'd prefer to fill out one online, even though I'm like a homeowner and I don't want it mailed to me. It's, save some paper and I'll go in, put in a number, or an identifier, and this,
Is there a reason why they could not be identical?
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of data collection performance, or?
Yeah, this is going to be confusing.
Well, we've gone in circles on this, in the conversation dominated the first couple meetings about the survey. There seemed to be some fear on some members that it would be abused and somehow not be valid, and
See, that resident,
I just haven't seen that happen.
Personally, I don't think that's gonna be the case. I think we'll be lucky if we get anybody to fill out the survey.
no, I don't-
Yeah.
The more typical way is to have it be, all one survey,
yeah,
offer it online, have people self-report, to mail, definitely to mail it to every household that has a voter. And if, say there's 2 voters and they get a property tax bill, that household will get 1 survey normally with in the intro that feel free to Xerox it, or you can do it online, here's the link. Anybody else online, here's the link too, but it's self-reported, I'm registered to vote, I live there, or so forth. I just haven't seen that not work out.
I think just one would be better. Because you're gonna have as much confusion as we had tonight about two neighbors getting together,
In my opinion, they should be the same, and
Yeah.
the online one should be the same as the mail-in one. And one question, the mail-in ones, do you have to put your own stamp on it, or does the town supply postage?
Well, we're going to look into that and see if we can get a bulk mailing permit, but we have to really nail down what we're sending out and
Yeah.
how many, because you have to meet a threshold.
We can get bulk mail, we do it. We
Yeah, I'll
do it
work
all
with you
the
on
time.
getting labels and get those numbers and figure out what you were talking about, maybe being able to add some beyond what we budgeted as part of our contract, because this got a lot longer too. We'll figure that stuff out.
Just another comment of just having it online too for just regular Joes that just want to for the fact that it's all the data's data entered. I mean, it's self-reporting, so it's right there. You just strip it from the form and you've got your data versus having somebody have to key it in. So,
Right. I agree with Bill. I think it should be online the same
I
as.
think if you're concerned about a lot of students filling this in, you've got an age group here, so if you are really concerned about that, you could check those and make sure what your age
Yeah.
groups are that is doing, so that would, you could eliminate that.
Rebecca?
I agree. I think we don't need 2 separate surveys. I think
No.
college students can barely do their homework sometimes, let alone this additional multi-page survey. So I don't think that's a concern. That they can self-report in several ways. We'll see that. So
I think
I think we have a consensus on that, or?
I just, without a lot of the background on this, because it's my second meeting, just, was it ever talked about to have it available to fill out and hand right back in at a voting time? Was that ever brought up? Instead of mailing it out,
Not at the time, because our time frame has vacillated, but you are coming up on a primary.
Much. There are real restrictions.
Oh, you mean
on
in
what-
terms of election law? What
Yeah.
else you can
Yeah.
offer,
Election
yeah.
law,
You
yeah.
can probably
Perhaps,
you can have
yeah.
a table outside.
Yeah,
Certain
I mean, if
districts
it's
It
all,
would need to be the
Yeah.
same distance
if
as
it's
the
off
campaigners.
premise, right,
Yeah.
right,
well, at the same point in time,
right.
the same day. I mean, it could be.
But the problem,
We did talk about
Multitask.
putting, it at the town hall, downstairs. You can just come in and grab a copy and fill it out. That kind of
But
thing.
then there's no way to know that, without mailing it to all of the households
Yeah,
that
you've
have
got
a
to
voter or
mail.
property owner, you don't know that you give everybody
you've
the
got to mail,
opportunity.
because sometimes at a town meeting, you've got 10% or 15% of the voters.
Right.
Right,
Oh,
and you
so
wanna
that
hear
would-
from all of them, because
Yeah.
if zoning changes
And-
come out of this, you'll have more than 10%.
And coming into the winter month, there's a lot of people that aren't gonna walk down here to the town hall and get messed up in this traffic that's
Yeah.
down here and everything like
I
that.
just didn't know if you guys had talked about that, and I missed that, so it's just a question.
So are we in agreement? Andy, do you have any comment?
No, my only, I guess, comment would be, I noticed on the last part of it said, do you have any other ideas for Plymouth that you'd like the planning board to consider? I don't know if it'd be a good idea to just, at the very first thing, online or whatever, just have a blurb about what the planning board does so that they,
Oh, there'll be a cover
Okay.
letter, yeah.
okay, that's it then.
So I think there's your answer.
Do we have to have a vote on that?
Sorry, John?
Do you have to have a vote on that? Is there one or two?
You might want to, why not? They're
Yeah,
cheap.
okay.
You haven't had very
3
many
seconds.
votes tonight.
No,
so-
but then it's in the record, and then especially if anybody gets confused later on.
Okay, so let's have a motion from someone. The wordsmith.
I shouldn't
like to
have
give us
told you
one.
that. So we're voting to accept the survey, or we're voting to say we're doing one survey?
One survey.
Okay, so,
Consolidate.
yeah, so, move
You don't
to
have to
accept or to have
consolidate.
one.
All you
See,
can do is
not a
throw the
wordsmith.
online out. Because you got all the questions on the first one.
So I move to just, instead of having I'm not even doing this very well, move to have one survey to be distributed for everybody with an online component.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, so here you go.
Hey, Nate.
So what,
Exactly the same.
do you want to see it at another meeting? Or, I mean, I'd at least like, because you didn't have it in advance, I want to make sure that, like, everybody try to look at this more carefully at home over the next week
Well,
and get Sharon any questions or any more comments or wordsmithing that would be helpful.
As I say,
And then I'll make the final changes
Okay.
and have Sharon send that out, and everybody can open
I just
the
want to
file
make sure we're
changes.
literally on the same page.
let's take and throw all this online thing in
I
the
didn't
file.
have an electronic version of this from last week. I just had from way back when you guys were working. So I just want to make sure whatever I've got is the most current. But you will be sending another one to reflect tonight's changes? This is kind of, sorry, it's kind of between me since I'm the administrative end of this. There was no attachment that came last week. So I just checked when I went downstairs to
So-
copy stuff. So I'm not sure what I've got.
No, we just throw it.
So I'm gonna resend this to you to send out to
Okay.
everybody, to make sure everybody has the
And
right
then we'll
one.
make sure because, yeah.
Is it
No, no.
possible to get the changes from tonight into the most recent one, so then we're looking?
Not that quickly. I wouldn't be able to do it till after next week,
I would prefer that the changes from tonight be in it.
Yeah.
before
Yeah,
you see
then we
it.
only
Okay.
have to review
So,
it once.
Because we're
Okay.
getting a lot of iterations
And
here,
then
this is
we're
where we
done.
lose our
Yeah.
minds,
Yeah.
especially me.
We'll be very tired.
Well, no, I mean, what I handed out and handed you
Template.
to Xerox, everybody was looking at what I brought.
Okay. No, yeah, that's fine.
I just don't want to be making comments on things, trying to make changes on
Right,
things that
right.
Okay,
we've already
so,
mentioned.
So we can just.
so the week after next, then I'll make these changes and have Sharon send it out for everybody's kind of final look.
So we can throw all this away.
Yep.
Then I'll just go ahead and work with you on the logistics of getting it out. To save money, it was pretty sure it was in that proposal that, the town do the folding and mailing, so it may be
Yeah,
that the
yeah.
next meeting is the mailing party, right? You know, it might,
The folding party?
right,
Yes,
that
could
might be what we need to do for the December meeting.
Can we get a really contentious meeting, so we have lots of people in the
Yeah, right.
audience to
There we
help
go.
us
That's a
out?
great idea.
Doesn't
Sign in.
necessarily mean lots of people to be contentious.
It's true.
Until you stuff 10 envelopes.
Cookies might be a good thing.
Yeah, we'll have,
Okay.
I don't know if we want
Speaking
to
time
televise
is
this.
5 p.m.
So let's see if we can make that timing
Yes.
work, even with the holiday in there.
So anything else from you, Tara, tonight? Are we good?
Nope.
So just, Brian, can you see the date over there? It'd be the first Thursday of December. I think it's
Third.
is it that early? Okay, so
Pretty sure it's December 3rd.
we'll see Tara back here. The third, and in the interim, you'll send me the updated version of tonight's commentary and I'll disperse it electronically.
I'm gonna need help with a map though. I don't know what the parts of town are.
Well, we got a lot of that.
I mean, I can make them up, but they're not gonna be right. They're not gonna be what the people that live there think of as a part.
But if we just had an outline and not had it all colored.
Well, no, I think we have
There you
to
go.
have,
High tech.
I've seen that.
That's why you do our GIS.
I bet the town planner has a map of Plymouth.
Yeah.
We need to have of it though.
Well, just
We're not gonna have people put
Just
themselves, they're gonna
composite,
pick.
yeah, the composite of the tax map, I guess we could do that. and then have a second, maybe color outline or
Why
something,
don't we just
Yeah,
say,
like the tax map online, that, I mean, that has pretty much.
with
the-
all the different components,
Yeah.
the composite.
Yeah.
And then just kind of generally shade,
Mhm.
you know, if people can interpret, if they can kind of get spatially oriented to where they are, where they live.
All I gotta do is put a thing, rural agriculture.
It needs to have West
Have to
Plymouth,
color it.
Fairgrounds Road, Tenny Mountain Highway, north of the downtown Route 3 corridor.
Yeah, I'm just thinking we have such horrible digital capacity for mapping. You know, I've whined about that for 6 years now.
So it seems like you could take us, if we could find just a simple little map of Plymouth, draw some
Maybe
lines on it,
something
and mark
like-
it up even by
Yeah.
hand, would be
Yeah.
all right, and sign it.
Chamber of Commerce map or
That'll be
something.
something.
But
that's-
because it's gonna, will this be a separate page?
Or a half
Has
a
to
page.
be.
on the-
Hoping it's half a page.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
it's definitely,
it's about
it's large
scale.
enough.
A Google map.
If it has to be a page.
Because it would be, yeah, because
You
it,
guys are paying that.
And then we put
no, I just mean that.
we have a
it-
suggestion. We have,
It's not digital.
the young guys have got to
Google
figure it
Map.
out.
Well, I was just getting there too, but will it be clear enough to show,
No.
won't
There's a
show
lot of
streets?
things.
Google map.
A lot of information on that.
You can show satellite or,
You can't use it without
Right, but
permission.
can you get it to the scale?
It's copyrighted.
it's copyrighted.
It's copyrighted. It's not that we don't know how to grab a map off
Yeah.
online, but we don't own that.
Doesn't it
so-
fall under fair use though for,
No, I
Tried
don't.
that before.
not-
No, and I'm concerned about scale, because if you can't digitally manipulate it, then in order to get the whole area you need and reduce it to even 8.5, 11, but we'll work, I think drawing may,
You could draw this thing that Bill just gave you. and
okay,
use it.
so
I think I've got
You guys will
something
figure out
simple
the
like in a
map.
brochure.
I have that, thank you.
all right, anything for the master plan? Are we done master
That's
planning?
just, can I put that in your?
I was thinking Andy might have some students that could
Sure,
do a
just
map with
Make a
them.
project.
Yeah.
Sixth
You
graders do
could- if You
GIS.
could find me
It's
a
not mine,
little
I'll put
piece.
that on.
Yeah.
Just draw on
Don?
it.
Yeah, I'll
We
I'll
we have
make a
two
note.
new members here, and since I'm on the hill most of the time and I'm not down in the fast lane, I would like to at least know what their names are instead of hey you.
Good thinking. I wasn't introduced to this guy either, so. I'm Steve.
Andy McDonald. I'm Andy McDonald. I live off of Morse Road. I'm a teacher here in Plymouth in the middle school.
Okay, good.
And he was approved by the last select board.
Were you? I would
Brian.
assume.
Yeah.
Mr. Kelly, I'm Brian Duto. I live on Fairgrounds Road. Recently moved to Fairgrounds Road. I work at Plymouth Elementary School with Andy. Have 3 small kids. Everyone here knows my wife more than myself, but that's all right.
I knew your father.
No,
Think,
no,
no.
well,
Is that a different detail?
it's a different Utah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're gonna wrap up the meeting here. Are there any, public comments before we adjourn? The public says no, they do not want to speak.
Frank?
If you don't speak, we can't adjourn the meeting. All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
John, you gotta let somebody else have a
Done.
turn.